So let's have a reference list of what to avoid in speech making. When you present, there are 8 blunders, fatal mistakes that I'd like to have you avoid, and make a list of them as a checkpoint. Number 1, an unknown audience. If you don't know your audience, you don't know what they want, what they need, what they're interested in, you've lost the target of your messages. Keep that in mind. Really know your audience. Do your study. And sometimes you might find that you've got a different audience in front of you than you anticipated. And if that's the case, you want to ask them some questions before you even start, so that you can be able to gather sufficient information to know what kind of audience do you have in front of you at that time. Number 2, a vague objective, which is basically a confused or unclear purpose. Know your purpose, know why you're there, and write it out at the top of that outline. If you don't know why you're there, you're going to be off your point. The third blunder is not knowing your outcome or your product. What is your presentation resulting in? If you don't know what it's resulting in as a follow-up step to tell your audience what to do as a call to action, then you're going to be moving your audience in a direction where it should not go. Realize what that is. Know exactly what the steps are that you're moving your audience to, so that your call to action is the exact call to action needed for that audience. Number 4, lack of flow or sequence. We've all been to presentations where we're not very sure where this is going, or it's all over the place, and it creates confusion, and there's no clarity. Well, that's the very first primary purpose of a speaker, is to be understood. And we've got to make sure that each point in that presentation is clear, it's sequential, and it flows smoothly from one point to the next, and it does not lack that organization needed to have clarity for the audience to follow. Number 5, and I will tell you this is the most violated, information overload. Most speakers will fill in what I call filler in order to make up the time. That is fatal. The best rule of thumb in public speaking is to get your point across in as little words as you possibly can. So I always say, in public speaking, much like you have in real estate, location, 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 in public speaking, edit, edit, edit. I say cut the fat off the fillet. Make it lean and mean, and get your point across in as little words as you possibly can. And make sure that time is not dictating your presentation. It's much, much better for an audience to get your point across and get out in much shorter time than they anticipated, and still be able to have you hit their target. Number 6, insufficient support. Support comes from sources that are documented and back up the points you're making. Examples, facts and figures, statistics, pie charts, visuals, historical background, comparisons, analogies. All of these things add credibility to the points you're making. You're going to walk out of your presentation as an authority and an expert because you built your case. You answered the question. Well, prove it. It's important that you prove the point you're making. Your audience needs that proof, and you're giving it to them with sufficient support. Number 7, monotonous delivery. Monotony is the opposite of variety, and that's what we want to do with our delivery, both in voice and body language. Vary our voice. We want to vary our tone, vary our pace and rhythm, vary our inflection, vary emotion, vary attitude. We want to be able to stretch out like a rubber band and not keep everything the same, because as we both know, sameness and monotony will put your audience to sleep. And we do not want to be a boring speaker, do we? So the key to this is in body language, move around, but only move that will assist the message, not distract from it. You'll relax your audience, and you'll make sure that your audience is at ease the more relaxed you are. And number 8, last but not least, and very important, disconnect from audience or message. We have 3 essential connections. If we don't use these 3 essential connections, we're missing our mark, and we're not nearly as valuable and effective as speakers, and we do not achieve that dynamic confident standard that we want in speaking. The first connection that we must have is to be connected to our own message. It's speaker to message. Do you believe in what you are saying? Do you believe in the ideals and principles that you're embracing? That's number one. Number two is connected to your audience. Is the speaker connected to the audience? Are you relaxed with your audience? Are you putting your audience at ease? Are there aspects of your audience that you admire and are interested in? Have you put them in a caring, comfortable position where they're ready to receive your message? Because the third connection is essential. Because without the first two, speaker to message and speaker to audience, the third connection is impossible. The third connection is connecting your message to your audience. You cannot connect a message to your audience if you're not connected to the message and if you're not connected to the audience. And that's where we disconnect as speakers. You will hit home those points with your audience. You will attract your audience. You have a much better chance of inspiring your audience and influencing them to take positive action if these three essential connections are in. So remember, keep your connection in with your message, believe in it. Make sure you're adhering to your own principles. Number two, make sure that you're truly and genuinely connected to your audience. There's admiration present on both sides. Then and only then are you able to connect your message to your audience and make it hit the mark as it should. Then and only then, you will have a high impact presentation that will truly move your audience.